Greetings viewers and welcome to another episode of #ETCG Dad's Truck. And in this episode it is the much anticipated removal of the engine and transmission. We just finished work on the suspension, the brakes, the wheels, the tires. I know a lot of you have been waiting for this, so let's get started right now. Throwing a set of fender covers on the fenders to protect them because the truck is pretty. I want to keep it that way. First thing I'm going to do though is remove the hood. That'll give me more working room and a lot more light. To do that, I need to remove this light, which is held on by a couple of flathead screws. Weird, but whatever. I like having an underhood light. A lot of people ask me this when I do big jobs. How do you keep track of all that stuff? Well, this is how. Keep stuff together. Whatever fasteners you remove from a component, keep those fasteners with that component. Even better, if you can keep them in the same place that they came out of, which is what I'm doing here. Little breadcrumbs like this make a big job like this, which I'm probably not going to be putting this back together for months, or hopefully it's not months, but I won't be putting this back together for a while. Little things like this are going to help a lot during reassembly and save time. The hood is held on by four 13mm fasteners here on these hinges. It's going to require two people, so we're going to put the camera on the tripod and cameraman Brian and I are going to remove this together. Once the hood comes off, along with some of the other components, we're going to place them in the back of the truck. How convenient, right? Jazz hands.
Is it set to remove?
Yes.
Any particular order?
I would start with the one that's farthest away because it's easier to get to this one and you'll want to be more...
Just start from the bottom?
Yeah, that's what I would do. It's not going anywhere, just go for it.
Already lost one.
Now's the part where you got to use two hands.
Okay.
Just one hand under the back and then the other hand loosening and I'll support up here. Yes, just exactly. Yep, you're good. You let me know when you got it.
I got it.
Okay.
Totally got it.
All right. Up and out. Excellent.
On you.
There you go. One of the things that, at least in my experience, often takes forever and annoys the heck out of me is the draining of the coolant, which I'm going to start to do now. And then while that's draining, I'm going to remove this whole front clip, including the radiator and everything else. But first step, let's drain the radiator, which has a plug right down here. I have a pan under here. Now I'm not going to pull the radiator cap off just yet to release the deluge. I kind of want to slowly drain it just because I want to control where it's going. So far it seems to all be hitting the pan. It's starting to go everywhere and I'm just going to try to expedite the process just so that it's over, because it's just intent on making a mess, just like they often are. They just have to do that. So now I'm going to smear it around on my floor a little bit. Make it so that as we're moving heavy things around, we have a nice slippery surface to stand on. It's the best way to go about this. Don't soak up anything, mop. It's not like you're a mop. I'm not really going to cover too many specifics on this engine removal. Stuff comes apart, stuff comes off, engine comes out. I love how Dad put the padding on this upper hose to keep it from chafing up there. That's right. Go into the pan. And now the fan shroud, which is held on by some 10mm, well, the upper fan shroud. Is also something that's going to go away because I'm going to electric fans. It'll open up this engine compartment nicely. Look at that. Although, I'm going to have to come up with some kind of different radiator support because this thing doubles as a radiator support. We'll figure that out when we need to. That's held on underneath. I'm not going to worry about it right now. Instead, I'm going to go for this. And you know what? I might as well just disconnect the battery now too. I never liked this design of battery terminal. Now the patient is asleep. Now I see fasteners for this grill and I'm intent on removing all of them. I don't know what I'm in the store for down here, but let's start up here, and these appear to be 7mm. Dad hit a deer not too long ago, so all this stuff is brand new. Ah, I knew there was hidden screws behind there. Another method I use on stuff like this is plastic bags. And I also keep the plastic bags with the parts that were removed. This is another good way to keep track of what goes where. There should be two other screws. There's one here, and there should be one down here, but the one down here on my truck is missing. Looks like there's lights on the corners too. What I'm trying to do is remove this entire section, which is obviously new, that will open up this space. I'll leave the front bumper on, I'll be fine with that, but I'm going to try to make all this go away. Condenser, support, everything. Headlights are held in by 10 millimeters. Well, I thought they were 10 millimeter. That one's 10 millimeter. Okay, that one's also 10 millimeter. It's just mad at me for some reason. Well, that and the drugs I saw. Oh, did I say that on camera? Let's get a shot of what goes where. Looks like the green and black goes to the brights, and the regular ones are the orange and black for future reference. Another thing to do is take pictures. That way you know. This is the air inlet here. It's obviously got to come loose. The center section has an attachment down here, 13 millimeter. It's either cross-threaded or not tight. We'll worry about that later. That took too long over there. Ah, I see where you go. I decided I'm going to pull the front bumper. There's 4 fasteners. There's one here. There's one up top that I'll show you in a second on both the sides here. And they are 18 millimeter. Okay, I lied. There's 4 fasteners. There's this one, and then there's 2 more on the other side. This right here is the fog light connector. I'm just going to leave those attached. So I can just undo this, unclip it, and fog light should be disconnected now. This one doesn't have a clip. There's some bendage there. No, never got tightened. I set the other fasteners down before I take the last one off. That way I can have a hand on this. Everything appears to be unplugged. Let's go. How anticlimactic is that? There's another fastener somewhere. I hope you saw that I ran one in by hand up top, so it shouldn't go anywhere, but there are 2 more on the outer edges. I'm just going to take the opportunity to undo the lower fan shroud while I'm down here. There should be 2 10 millimeter bolts up under here. Funny story, Dad and I have been emailing and talking, and he was saying, oh, be careful when you remove that lower fan shroud. One of the bolts was missing, and I put in a zip tie. He is my dad, so it's genetic, but this is a zip tie he spoke about. right up here. And the funny thing is the day before he said it, I found it. So I don't know if he was reading my mind or what, but I found that very amusing. Should be able to take this bumper off now. Ah, there's this bright light in my face. Now you'll be impressed. Not. There you go. Be impressed now. This is what holds this in, is these giant bolts here. This will not fit through this hole, but I'm gonna need this. Good thing there was no bumper there to scratch, right? Walking away. I'm gonna soak these with some penetrating oil because, well, they look like they really could use it. All right, I should have mentioned the top part is a 15 millimeter. The bottom is the 18. Other side had a giant piece of rubber too. There's one more. Yep, I thought so. At least on that side there is. This wiring is obviously going to have to come out. Now, I sort of felt around behind here and you see this guy going up. Well, he goes behind the battery and it's just a body ground. And I think, yeah, there's just one wire going up there. So we'll use that and just follow along so we can feed the harness back through the top. Sweet. Hidden back through here is a 13 millimeter. I didn't see anything like this on the other side, but I'm gonna check. I've already checked the AC system and it's empty. And in fact, I found some gunk in one of the valves and I think that's why. So I don't have to worry about evacuating my AC system. I plan to leave the condenser still attached to the front here. The inner part's 19, this is 22. If there was refrigerant in here, I could take it to a friend of mine's place who has a recovery machine. Let's see, there's nothing in there. Let's get that ground disconnected. Now, this ground, well, that's technically the body ground. And if that's loose, well, a lot of stuff's not going to work. So when we go to start this back up, the front end may or may not be still on this. If it is not, well, we certainly need to be aware of this situation with the ground not being connected. Because that will mean, well, quite simply, electrical stuff won't work. Oh, come on, you put a clip there behind the battery? It's okay, I can't see either. Yes, I could take the battery out. And I'm probably just gonna. It'll never bother me again. So gently. It's like there's a horn and another ground connection here. I remember what those 3 bolts are. They're just on the other side and I forgot to do this side. So, learning lots of stuff about my truck today. Like there's this plug back here that I could have disconnected and left all that going through the front. Wow, you're so brittle. You're so brittle. Now you're probably thinking, Eric, how are you going to keep track of where everything went? Well, I'll be honest, that's an excellent question. But I find so many times that the connectors and the wires tell you where they want to go. Like these two are disconnected, but they say, hey, we want to be together. So I rely on that a lot. Does it always work? No. No, it doesn't. And the mystery socket is 1/4 inch. Why am I thinking that GM did something really silly, like put a nut on the other side of this that is inside the truck? It's starting to feel like that. Oh, I see. It's a giant grease blob. So, you kind of can't have just this thing, looks like. Or it looks more complicated than I want to worry about right now. You're just going to go back together in all your greasiness for now. This also works. So there was never going to be any, what I talked about over there. It was always going to go down like this. We're just putting the plug back in the radiator. Real fun's about to start. If we thought it was messy before, oh yeah. Here comes the fun. I anticipated more from you. You've been that guy up to this point. Why change now? It's hard to get attached to too much that's here right now because so much will be changing. Like I said, I plan to switch from this clutch fan to an electric fan. And this is the overflow hose. I definitely want to keep this pointing up, or we'll just drain it now. And this, which I thought was kind of a cool design, is actually the return for the heater core. All of this stuff I gotta sort out. It's not just an engine, it's a bunch of systems. This radiator looks new. Probably could still use some penetrating oil. My new transmission is going to have a separate oil cooler. I'm not likely to run these lines, or if I am, I'm only going to use part of them. Let's get this out of here before it leaks all over my floor. Where to put it though? I don't know if it sits like this. I'm just going to work that one out. Looks like we still have this evap canister attached. It appears, well, first of all, this looks lower on this side than it does on the other side, but that said, it's got to come straight out and it won't go past this, so I'm going to remove these on both sides. I caught it. I totally caught it. I think I'll take these off also. They're held on by 21mm fasteners. only because it was recently apart is it coming apart like this. Your experience may vary. I'm guessing these are shims. Well, obviously they are, but for locating this, variances in the frame, I don't know. Interesting though. I think I got it all. Yeah, buddy. I hate this exhaust. I'm really happy to see it go, and I'm not going to waste my time with it. With elegance. Oh my gosh, I dropped it. One of my all-time favorite tools. I almost killed the cameraman. Came close. Oh well, guess we get to keep him around for a little while longer. Goodbye, mummy muffler. As long as I'm in a cutting mood, and we already cut the front of these transmission lines, just gonna come back here and do it again. There's another wire that's going up into the floor here. The only thing I can figure is like maybe illumination or, neutral safety switch. Maybe, I don't know. Anyway, don't want to harm that. But further up here, there's a nut that goes with this. You know what? I'm not even going to mess with that nut. I'm going to. Grab this pry bar that's handy. Pry this open. And then just take it out. That's done. Figure out what's inside the truck for this, if there's a connection. Now, I want to drain the transmission. And to do that, I want to remove the pan. I'm going to put my jack under the back of this, knock this loose, lift this up so I can get to the pan, and then move this back into position with no fasteners in place, just so that I can rest it on here. And when I'm about to pull the engine, I'll take my floor jack, I'll put it up under here, lift it up high enough to pull this transmission support out, and then I'll drop it down, and that way everything can go out the front, because all we got to worry about clearing is right here. That's it. Everything's going to come forward. Real easy now that we took all this stuff apart. But I'm doing this because there's no access to these fasteners for the back of the transmission, so. Eric, why not take out the drive shaft? Won't come out. See previous videos. So what I'm going to do is pull the transmission forward and the drive shaft's going to fall out. That's my plan anyway. And then once the transmission's out, I'm going to disconnect the drive shaft from the differential, but for now, this is the way forward. There's only one bolt that holds the transmission mount in place. And a washer and a plate and stuff. So up on the top of these, there's a nut. And these are 18s. All right, raising it up off the stud. Okay. Get the shift linkage off. These are 13. I have an aftermarket shifter, so your experience may vary. Those seem like important spacers. You can live there now. You. And I know my new transmission. I have a new computer, and this just goes to a switch up in the dash. So, I'm okay with it. Be nice. I'm okay with that. I'm gonna start at the back, work my way to the front, so that I can stand out of the way of the deluge, which will happen. The closer this is, the less it will splash. Now I'm just gonna knock these loose because the gasket could hold it in place and then the whole thing could come crashing down. This is something I want to avoid. So I'm just gonna loosen these up a little. I hear some crackling and popping. Get a screwdriver and knock that loose very gently. I shouldn't say screwdriver, I should call it a small pry bar. If I used a screwdriver, it would technically be abuse of tools. Yay, that worked out just like I planned. Just gonna let that drain for a second. That's the kickdown cable that goes up to the throttle linkage, I'm pretty sure of that. Kickdown cable could also be known as a TV or a throttle valve cable. Ooh, transmission guts. It's so exciting. This is where that cable comes in, and it activates the pressure inside the transmission that lengthens shift times, things like that. I'm trying to come up with the best strategy to unloop it, because I do want it off of here, because I do want the cable, but I don't want the transmission. Pop this filter off if it's not bolted on. Maybe I'll just move it to the side. That's all I need. Doesn't look like this was serviced that long ago. There we go. And so yeah, that pushes on this eventually, so it comes over, controls this pressure in the valve body. I'm not using this transmission. It doesn't mean I have to be mean to it. I think it's drained out enough. Let's put the pan back on. We could, since we have buku access right now, it's probably a really good idea to do this too. And that is to knock all the torque converter bolts loose. That way, once this thing is out, I won't have to worry about fighting it while it's hanging on an engine hoist. Now the plugs are still in the engine, which means rotating it is going to be a little bit challenging. I'm not going for a transmission I'm going to drive down the road. I'm going for bolts staying in, pan not leaking, and not jacking up the aluminum in the transmission case by running it down too tight. These are very small Allens. A lot of people don't even put this cover back on. Just leave it open to the elements. Personally, it's always made me a little nervous, but people do it. It's a thing. That one is so rusty, it's probably gonna be vice grips. I'm pretty sure this is something Dad did. I think he mentioned putting this cover back on. I think he said that it was hitting and making a noise. All right, 2 fasteners, maybe a shim up there, and then there's wires, which I say are gonna be easier to get to while it's hanging in my face. Might as well just unplug this knock sensor now, since it's practically destroyed anyway. Man, if somebody hadn't cut this exhaust, it wouldn't be all sharp and cutty. So much spinning. Surprise! Water pump works. Might be the last of them. Torque converter moves on its own. Look at me, I'm a transmission. I'm gonna put the brace back in. Drain the oil. Let it sit for a minute. Let as much of this oil come out as I can. And then we just got some stuff to unplug and a little bit of work to do up top. This guy's out of here. It's done draining. And I think we're pretty much done under here. Next, I am going to loosen the power steering lines off of the power steering box. My whole front accessory drive bit is going to be different. So this may change. I figure if I just disconnect down here at the steering column, or I'm sorry, steering box, ooh, things like this, like a rag joint like that, can also contribute to loose feeling steering. You know, it's right about now, I'm thinking to myself, Self, you're pretty smart for taking the whole front of that truck off. I know it took you an extra hour, but you'll get a chance to fix some of that, well, we'll call it body work. Body work's a hard gig because insurance companies don't want to pay. I did a video about this once. Won't get into it now. Let's just say it's poopy. Give my nice new parts all dirty. I don't like you for that. Ah, perfect. Oh, that's much better. There you are. Drain away. Power steering. I love this. Get used to working on stuff like this. Let's finally start working on the engine part. Look at that wheezy throttle body. You are so gone. I'm gonna disconnect electrical connections, starting here and working my way back. Start with the air system. Right there, so remember that went there, but kind of doesn't matter because I'm not replacing that system. AC compressor, that's got a particular type of connector to it. I will need that even though I'm changing out that. Ooh, this looks like some sort of shutoff or something maybe? I don't know. What are you? You're something. Coolant temperature, back of the alternator. Yeah, we can do you. Yeah, the throttle body injection system, which is what this has, was like the crossover just before multi-port, you know, between carbureted stuff. It's kind of like what's happening now in the aftermarket hot rodding world. Carburetors are being replaced by throttle body type units, but far and away superior to what this thing was. Not that it was bad. How about that ground? Let's get that guy off. Wow. So, that could have been a cause of a lot of problems right there. That's a harness ground, or what's left of it. That ain't good. There's a problem right there. There's 200 horsepower. I found it. Ah, another ground. Are you just as weak? Apparently not. Wow. Stuff be brittle. There's no electrical connection going to the fuel injection system that I'm not saving. What do I do? How do I deal with that? Since there's no connection here. Whoops. Okay. I think I'll be all right. Not that this stuff didn't work. It's just, oh, look how brittle. So brittle. Like these vacuum lines. I remember this stuff from back in the day, having to deal with these. That's the EGR valve, by the way. Everybody just, hey guys, it's a great opportunity to just die. Just give up, man. Just let go. Here's a giant ground connection, like the biggest one of them all. See, like they all kind of did this. So the fix was just to take a piece of vacuum line, slide it over this, boom, you're done. But yeah, weird vacuum leaks because of the stupid plastic crap that they went to. Cheaper than rubber. This isn't needed. It's pretty cool though. Hi. Yeah, it's fun, isn't it? We could do this all day. You can't, but I can. You're still watching. All these connections. And given it that these guys are all in one bracket, I wonder, and I bet it's going to be a lot easier to see without this distributor cap in the way, which my experience with pulling Chevrolet engines, which the first engine I ever pulled was out of a 63 Biscayne, is that if you don't remove the distributor cap on a Chevy small block, it will crunch against the firewall as you put it in or take it out. It's like a law of nature. Wow. Wow. Letting your vehicle sit. Revealed a hidden electrical connection. Thank you very much. Keep the check valve. Lose that part. You know, it almost looks like these fuel lines have got to go first because they're so in the way. Okay, fuel lines first. They are 16. You're just gonna be that way? Okay. Sometimes your finger gets numb and you wonder if like there's a chunk of it missing and it's bleeding all over the place and you don't really realize it. I have those moments a lot. Did I just lose my finger? Whoa, well, sure we'll find that when we get the engine out. That makes a lot of room. These fuel lines. I guess it'd work a lot better, Eric, if you like use the correct size socket. Ow. I remember you. You were inside the transmission. You look like you could use a bungee cord. Are you my daddy? There you are. Oh. You're designed so that once you're loose, I can just pull you out of the way. Fantastic. That makes some room. Oops, I think I got some junk in the engine. Guess we'll have to rebuild it. Now I can unplug what I'm assuming is the oil pressure sending unit. That's on the dipstick. You know what? We're gonna have to mess with those wires after we get this thing part way out. kind of thinking there's no way around that. Some people, you just can't reach. Heater hose, and I think about there. I can put my chain here and here, but there's all kinds of wires and stuff tangled in over here that we're gonna have to deal with when it's part way out. Just cut it, peel it like an orange. Well, I knew that was gonna happen. Ooh. I just found a couple of grounds. Watch out for these little grounds. They'll get you when you're pulling an engine like this, and all that weight is going to start ripping and tearing stuff. That's no bueno. So I've lifted it up to take one last look around, and it appears taking out the dipstick tube, the transmission dipstick tube, is going to be very advantageous. And I just see another one over here. The fuel lines are also connected to the bell housing on the top, but right underneath that you see another engine ground. Once again, those are the things that'll hang you up and start tearing things up and make it so you have to fix things. It kind of looks green and crusty anyway, but still, I don't want to cause any undue harm where I don't have to. And also back on the other side is where the fuel lines are attached to the bell housing as well. Although that may be the ground that I disconnected on the body, so it may already be disconnected. Many things are trapped by this dipstick tube. Sweet. Oh, Canada. Shout out to my Canadian friends. Eh? There is this tube. I'm not sure if it's, well, I think it's air, the air system. I need to cut it because the fuel lines are sort of trapped in between. And I think the best way to deal with it, I'm sorry, I keep doing that, is just to cut it. I guess if you've already cut through it, you don't need to keep cutting. Somebody's gonna bend. Oh yeah, there you go. There. When I run the hooks in, I don't want to run them in like this. I run them in like this. That way they hook more. Instead of like getting to a position where they can unhook. Engines are heavy. Just saying. One time should do it. I think before I go in, I might knock the engine mount bolts loose though. Almost forgot to finish disconnecting the AC. Just gonna knock the engine mounts loose. These are 16. Oh, you gotta be kidding me. All right, we're raising it up to do this because there's obviously a nut on the other side. There we are. Let go my ego, seriously. All right, a little bit of tension. That's good. Now I'm gonna go underneath with a floor jack, lift up the back of that transmission, take out that transmission support, lower the transmission jack down, probably make a puddle of transmission fluid, and hopefully we'll be able to just drive this out. Hopefully. That might be enough. That barely worked. All right, now I'm gonna lift the transmission down. Let's lower the lift, see what happens. Before I lower the lift, I wanna look around, see if anything's getting crunched, harmed in any way. So far, so good. I'm gonna lower the transmission a little and you'll see the engine move. Oh, no you won't. Transmission jack is completely out of play. I do have to jack the transmission up to get it to move forward. Oops. Just come off of that. You know, I'm just gonna cut you. There's a little bit to go on this side. Yeah. There we go. That's progress. That was my drive shaft, and expected. Looks like we're clear, but that's something you definitely want to check again, and then check your checking. Okay, everybody's good. That power plant is removed. Sweet. I kind of feel like one of those fishermen on the dock that just caught like that big fish or giant shark or something, being like, Anyway, engine and transmission removal on a GMT400. I'm going to say that removing the front clip with the radiator and everything is the way to go, because if you'll notice, my engine hoist is just about maxed out as far as height goes. I don't think I would have gotten it out otherwise. So spending that extra time to do that, I say, is a good thing. Watch out for those grounds and those little things on the back of the engine. They can get you. For me, it is now 19 days and counting until I have to get 19 shop days and counting until I get this thing back in and running. So I'm going to get this thing tore down, which will be covered in another video. If you have any questions about what you saw here today, tools, things like that, please check the description. I always put links there. If you have automotive questions not covered in this video, I ask that you head to EricTheCarGuy.com, also linked in the description. Please don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, do those things that help me make a living. I appreciate it, so please be safe, have fun, stay dirty, and I'll see you next time. Thanks for watching.